Welcome, everybody. Today, we will have a fireside chat with Nadège Minois, who is a trainer, coach, facilitator in cultural diversity. Hi, Nadège.
Hello, Catherine. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. So we will talk today about how social connections make us happier and healthier. Just so that people know, for the members, Bonsai or Jacaranda member, you will have the recordings and also the ability to ask more questions in your members area and also all the bonuses. And let's dive in directly. So Nadège, let me know a little bit how you see the world, how you perceive the world. I know that you lived in many different countries as I did. So I think that this gives you a total different perspective about how the world seems.
Yes, no, that's right. May not have lived in as many countries as you, but so far I've lived in 5 different countries. Yes, so I've experienced definitely a lot of diversity, especially cultural diversity, who brought me to what I'm doing now. And I think that's how I see the world. The world is diverse. And if I could give an image, to me, the world is like a mosaic.
That's interesting.
And to me, each of us, and I'm not talking only about humans, but everything in the world is like a little piece of the mosaic, a little tile of that mosaic. And so everything has its place. Everything is part of the bigger picture. Some bits, unfortunately, are darker. Some bits are brighter. But to me, that's what the world is. It's a diverse mosaic.
I love this image. It really, yeah. I love this similarity with the mosaic, and you can really see how everything can fit together. Totally.
Yes.
So yeah, it's true that we are really influenced about since childhood about our education in school, our parents, the environment, the culture. How do you see this? Explain a little bit more the diversity, how this fits into the mosaic.
Yeah, well, to me, it fits in the sense that so we all have our kind of place and role in the mosaic, but also that this diversity gives us our color, if you want, in the mosaic. And yes, each of us are a combination of different things, and there are things, like the nationality, our ethnicity, education level. So some things might change, like age, social class, religion, gender, sexual orientation, any kind of category you can think of. And to me, that's what diversity is really.
Yes, it reminds me of when I talk about as a nutrition health coach, when I talk about bio-individuality, we are all unique, and what fits for one when it comes to eating doesn't fit normally to, or not necessarily to, someone else. So eating in a certain way, there is not something like the perfect diet everyone should have. Obviously, a healthy diet, but you need to take into account how people grew up, how they were eating as a child, the preferences. It's like, for example, the example I always give is don't ask an Italian not to eat pasta or pizza anymore. This wouldn't work. So yeah, you really have to take everyone into account, the way they grew up, essentially.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And yes, to me, I like this concept of bio-individuality. And I think you make really the point, is that they are different things. They are things that we took from others, we were taught, and things like that. Like, you were talking about Italians eating pasta or pizza. And yes, that are things we share in our culture, in how things are for us, what is normal for us, what is right, appropriate or not. But then you've got this really individuality, so that yes, you're part of groups, there's a certain culture, but it's also you. So yes, okay, you might not want to give up pasta or pizza if that's what you've been used to eat. But what might differ is what kind of pasta and what kind of pizza you would like to eat. And so even in that shared culture and shared experiences, here you have that other level of individuality, which I like.
Yes, it's true. When you think about cuisines, for example, you can be part of the same country, but different regions have their different type of cuisine, and it's still the same country or the same culture, but there are changes, and yeah, so it makes total sense. I mean, even something else. I mean, I lived in many different places. So in my childhood, I lived in Belgium, I lived in Germany, and there are things I like from Belgium, there are things I like from Germany. And then I lived 15 years in Spain. So I took up also thinking about food in this case, things I really enjoy from Spain. So yeah, you are really primed in a sense of your environment, your culture, how you grew up, people you grew up around. So yeah.
Yeah, no, that's right, and I can totally relate to that also. Yeah, taking up the diet and what I liked from the different countries I've lived in, and if I compare what I eat now with what I used to eat as a kid, I don't think there's probably one thing. Well, okay, maybe bread. Maybe I can't live without a baguette, being French. But there's very few things that I eat now that I used to eat as a kid, because I've taken up, just like you, I've taken up these new experiences, and I learned from that, and I took what I like, and so yeah. So and that's about, you were talking about bio-individuality, and I think that's part of it. That there was what you were at the start, and you think that's how it is and that's it. But then no, you can create new experiences.
Yes, and this is
yeah.
really great. I think that so we're talking about diversity, and I think this really goes hand in hand with inclusion. It's a bit like the beyond individuality, and when I talk about eating, for example, eat obviously healthy food, but eat the rainbow, which is really all types of colors of fruits and veggies, for example, to allow you to have all the nutrients you need so that your body functions properly. And I think that there are similarities.
Yes, yeah, no, that's right. Absolutely. Yes, and diversity, if I can make a relation between that and diversity and inclusion, maybe I would say that, diversity is the fact that there are all these different kinds of foods around the world. Well, first, all the different ingredients. You were talking about vegetables and fruits, and everything you could eat, all the ingredients you could put together to make various recipes. But then there's a kind of culture. It's what kind of recipes you have, and that's basically diversity. You've got these categories of ingredients and various cuisine. But then inclusion is not just saying, there are diverse types of food. Inclusion then is the next point, is understand about these types of food and try these types of foods, because there may be things that are healthier and actually that taste better than what you would do with the same kind of ingredient, but a different recipe from a different culture. And that's inclusion, taking on board this diversity, embracing it, using it, and not just looking at it and say, yes, it's there.
Yeah, it reminds me of especially kids when they say, I don't like, I don't like spinach, or I don't like this, or I don't like that. And you may not like something from the taste point of view as a child, but it can also be because as a child you never ate this at home, so you didn't have certain types of food at home. But this doesn't mean that you can't taste it later on and try it out and say, oh, actually that's pretty good. So we often have this kind of mindset, like fixed ideas about some things, which I think in inclusion, it's also the point. We have these kind of set ideas, fixed ideas, saying, okay, this is not good, or I don't like it, just because I never tasted it. But that doesn't mean that it's not good. So it's really being open, have an open mind, no?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. That's right. And here I see two different things. It's one is, yes, our level of awareness of differences. And if we are not very aware, usually we tend to be negative about them. That's not what I know. It's different. It's not like me. It's not like what I know. So it can't be good. So that's what you said. And it is this level of awareness. But then there's also, how do we approach diversity and what is different? Because when we're confronted to something that is different, basically our brain has been geared up to have a kind of avoidance reflex, because I don't know what it is, so I'd better keep my distance in case it's a threat. So we've got that avoidance reflex, which is where I'm not going to taste that. No, I'm sure it's not going to taste good. I'm not going to try that new things. But at the same time, there's also the kind of excitement of novelty. So it's quite it's quite a fine line, and it's why we like what is familiar. It's not because that we like it, because actually we may not completely like what we eat. Sometimes we eat things as an habit, and not because it's delicious, but because it's safe. Mm-hmm. We know it, so it is safe, and that's what we like. Familiarity. We feel comfortable with familiarity. I shouldn't say like, because we may not like it, but it feels safe. Mm-hmm. And so that could be the same with food. Yes, absolutely.
Yes, it's totally true. And I think these are kind of mechanism we don't even think about it. And I think the first step would be awareness. Being aware of it is like opening a door.
Yeah, and I remember actually from my studies when I was studying behavior and cognitive neurosciences and things like that, and so there was a lot of things about learning, and it was not just with human, but one of the most powerful aversion you can create, it's actually food aversion. So you eat something that makes you sick, it will usually take you a very long time to eat it again.
Well, this I can totally relate to this as an anecdote. When I was a baby, I don't know what age exactly, maybe 1 year, around one or 2 years old. My mom gave me fish to eat, and there was like this. How do you say this in English? This une arête.
Yeah, well, it's like a bone.
Yes.
Yes, yeah.
Which apparently got stuck somewhere. Ooh. And she had to brought me to the hospital, and the doctor said, well, a couple of hours later, and it was too late. So it was really, and from that point on, I had an allergic reaction when I was eating fish, and I loved fish. But if I ate more than like a little piece, everything came out again. And for years. And then at one point, so my mother always told me, yeah, you are allergic to the proteins of fish. Mm-hmm. And I found this a little bit strange, because I could eat some other type of seafood, but not that. Mm. And so when it became like, okay, it's my body reacting to this because I almost died. Mm-hmm. little by little, I could eat a little bit more and then a little bit more. And actually now I can eat whatever kind of fish and seafood and I have not one problem. So you can have this type of reactions, which is kind of your brain saying, okay, this is a survival thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, oh, I had this bad experience. I was sick, or this bone stuck in my throat like you had, and things like that. And obviously your brain remembers that for a long time because it was quite a painful experience. So it has kind of a vivid memory of it.
Yeah.
And so for a long time, I said, no, I'm not going that way. I'm not going that way.
Yeah. So oftentimes we don't know why you react in a certain way or our body reacts in a certain way. And it comes oftentimes from the childhood.
Yeah.
We're not aware of that anymore. Or the environment, the culture, what we lived as a child. So it can go, years back.
That's right. That's right.
So I'm really interested in knowing how, I know it from a health perspective, not only physical, but also mental health, but your point of view on how social connections make us happier.
Well, I would say maybe first of all that you need to have the right social connection, but because we are a social species, we are a social animal. And one of the worst punishment, you know, it's like when they put people in isolation, basically, where they confinement, complete confinement, and that's one of the worst punishments. So we are social animals. So we need these connections, and when we connect with the right people, like our friends, most of our family usually, and things like that, we can generate these positive feelings, if I say so. So that will make us happier. I would say from a diversity and inclusion point of view, then is that how do you extend that beyond that close circle of friends and family, and how can you ensure that also you have a positive outcome of connecting with diverse people? And then when I talk about connecting and social network, it's not about friends on Facebook, you know, it's really people you interact really with, you talk to regularly, and that kind of things. And so having this open mind, you were talking earlier about having an open mind, having that open mind towards these new people, asking questions, trying to understand about them, learning new things, and yes, that will give you a much more positive mindset, and I would say because you will be more open to the world, and eventually that can lead to, I don't know if it leads to happiness, but can lead to a more positive outlook and feeling more fulfillment.
Yes.
That's how I would see it. Yes.
Yes, I mean, I think there are, I don't know how many researchers done by now and studies who really show that being connected, and as you said, it's not about connecting on social media, it's really coming together, connecting with people you love, really has a positive impact on your health and happiness, on the way you feel. I mean, being open and positive actually feels much better than being angry or living with fear about how other people could be, you know? And we have seen this over the last 2 years with the pandemic as well. I mean, a lot of people really craved this connection. And you could connect like on social media or via Zoom or in video calls, but it's not the same. It's like, you know, you need this closeness, just a hug. It's something which brings you joy and happiness, actually.
Yeah, no, that's right. That's right. And yes, that's true. There has been many studies about it. I remember before doing what I'm doing now, I spent 15 years working on the biology of aging, doing some research. And so obviously I was interested in many aspects of that. And regularly there were results from studies showing that people with a strong social network, they were less likely to be ill, and especially long-term or chronic diseases.
Mm-hmm.
On average, they had a longer lifespan too. They lived longer. So many benefits. And I think probably it's because you had this support network.
Yes.
Basically, they knew they had somebody that, you know, they could talk to, they would be listened to. So it's like knowing you can have help with that network. And I think that was a very important aspect of it.
Yes,
Yeah.
and it also helps health-wise, not only physical health, but also mental health. So when you think about physical health, for example, you have what they call the blue zones, which are these 5, 6, 7 different spots in the world where people live like centenarians. For example, in Okinawa or etc.
Yeah.
And one of the main things was not only how they were eating, but also how they were living. And one of the main aspects was the community.
Yes, absolutely.
So even at 80, 90 or 100 years old, they were really not sitting alone at home, but they were part of a community and seeing people every single day. And there is also a direct impact on the physical health due to one of the hormones which come up is oxytocin. And it's just the feel good or hug hormone.
Yes.
And this helps you not only physically to feel healthy, to be healthy, but also mentally.
Yeah.
And I think that for mental health, it's really important to have support and feeling part of a community, as you said before.
Yes, absolutely. It is this sense of community, and it's true that it's been reported, yes, in this population where you have a high number of old people, yes, whether in Okinawa, I think there's some population in Italy and Greece too, on highlands there. And yes, and if I remember well, I think that they've looked, especially in Japan, they've looked at these communities to understand what it was. And I think it's kind of like that they came to this Ikigai concept.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think so, which is, you know, what you're supposed to be doing and how you're supposed to be thinking and all these kind of things to be happy, to have a more fulfilled life. And the sense of community is definitely a very important aspect of it.
Yes, and I think it's directly linked to empathy and obviously opening up to others, no matter what culture, no matter from where they come, the origins, the way of thinking, because there is a huge list of different labels we could have, really helps.
Yeah, no, definitely. And you can see that it can work. It works, like we see at the moment with what is happening in the world and all the support you see from every countries in the world for the people in Ukraine and here. So I would say it's a bit a pity that you need such an event to have this show of empathy and support. But that's what we're talking about here, basically.
And how can you have this on a daily basis? Because, as you said, oftentimes when there is a crisis, be it war, earthquake, whatever may happen, people come together, and you see this burst of solidarity. But how can we implement this on a daily basis? Because I think that it's not only once there is an event that we should
Absolutely.
move. How can you be how can you put this on a daily basis to your life, so that you're not feeling alone, that you're not alone, that you're really part of a community,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
be more
Well,
happier?
yeah. I think there's probably different level. Like, it's easier, with your friends and family, because you have this kind of shared positive feelings, of love, of friendship, of all things. So you have built that relationship, that trust, and basically the idea is to kind of replicating that to people outside, but of course it's not done automatically. So maybe like something in the workplace, because as you said, in a time of crisis, there is something that everybody is looking at. We're all looking in the same direction.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I'm thinking is trying to have that direction, so to have that vision, and that people look in the same direction towards the same thing. And I don't know, but that might help, when it's people who don't really know each other. Like, for instance, in a workplace, you have a team, and to have this support, it's to have this common. We were talking about shared experiences and things like that, and that's that thing, that shared focus.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to build to have that shared focus.
So being I mean, open-minded, obviously, but I would say being curious and reaching out to others.
Absolutely.
Because oftentimes I think it's also linked to what we don't know. As you said before, we fear, but maybe the other person is fearing as well. So it's really just taking the first step,
Absolutely.
showing our hand, giving our hand, and connect.
Yes, yeah, no, absolutely, really on a personal basis. Yes, that's right. To be curious, to ask questions, to lend a hand to. Yes, I'm here. I'm listening to you. I'm asking you. I want to know about you, and yes, to do that, and not always to wait for others to do it, because, as you said, the others will be in the same situation, and especially when it might be even more difficult for others. In the field of diversity and inclusion, we talk a lot about minority groups, and we talk about privilege, which just means to belong to the dominant culture, basically. And so if you're part of that dominant culture, that majority group, I think it's very important to go towards other people, because it's even more difficult for them. That you see sometimes people are put on the spotlight. Like, we talk about gender inequality. So, okay, we're going to ask women, and women are going to tell us their stories and things like that. So you put the other on the spotlight. But no, basically, it's not just like that. Be curious, be open, and go towards people.
Yes, it makes me think of traveling. I mean, oftentimes when we travel, we want to know more about the land, the country we're traveling in, getting to know how people live, how people eat, like the new cuisine, and so on. And I would say that we just should look at this like going on an adventure. because it's exciting. It's
It
exciting
is.
to see something new, to learn something new, to learn new people. And if we see this this way, it makes things actually much easier.
Absolutely, absolutely. So yes, yeah, it's to try to keep that holiday spirit, because it's much easier to do when you go on holiday, because at the back of your mind, you know, even if it's unconscious, even if you don't think that, you know that in a week or two, you'll be back to your routine, what you know. So, okay, you know, for a week or two, that's great, that's exciting, and things that I'm going to try these new things and look at how things are around. So that's exciting. So yes, but then, you know, it's again that kind of safety of the familiarity, you know, yes, that's exciting while I was there, and I know that soon I won't be there. I'll go back to what I know. And usually what happens if you stay longer is that then you begin to have a culture shock and things like that. And maybe what happened is that you don't have that culture shock when you try to connect with different people when you are where you are. But it's, you know, it's that same kind of attitude, in a way, that you do not have curiosity, because, well, yeah, it's not new. And you know, so there's this kind of, it's a completely different relationship. So maybe that's a good idea, to keep that holiday mindset.
Yes, seeing this like an
about
adventure
it,
and
yeah.
learning something new.
Mm.
I mean, it's exciting. And if we just change the way we approach it, yeah, it makes a huge difference.
It does.
Yes.
It does. Yeah, that's right. And that's the way of connecting that makes you healthier and happier.
And I think that oftentimes people overthink on a daily basis. And actually, it's very easy. It's just taking a step forward and smile. I mean, just smiling brings wonders. I mean, it's so easy. It doesn't cost anything, and
Yeah.
it makes the other person in front of you feel accepted. Because there is a lot about acceptance as well, how you accept others.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yes, to be inclusive, you need to accept others. It doesn't mean agreeing. Acceptance and agreement are two different things, but you just accept the other people for who they are, for what they bring. And even if there are things you don't agree with them, you know, you might be, for instance, from a different religion, so you believe in a different God. Okay, but no, then it doesn't need to be a complete barrier that means you cannot accept that person. No, just accept that person. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I think that having conversations just really when you don't think the same way, it can be really the basis for interesting conversations. And as you said, it's not about agreeing or trying to get the other person to believe the same way you believe or you think, but it's really an exchange of information. And this is the beauty of inclusion, actually.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's an exchange of information, an exchange of ideas. I bring you that, you bring that to me, and you expand. Yes. Basically, your perspectives, your mind just expands as it takes in these new ideas, these new perspectives. And it doesn't change fundamentally who you are. You know, you're not going to change your religion or whatever, but it opens your mind.
Yes, and I always like to say that 1 + 1 is not 2 but 11, like 1 + 1.
Yeah.
Because it's exponential, actually.
Yeah, no, that's right. Absolutely.
This was really interesting. I think that yes, too often we just live in our own little world, and we don't think further. not necessarily because we're not open-minded, but it's just because of, you know, the life happens and we don't think about this. And I think that this is a great reminder for people to open their eyes, actually, to look at the world around them. And it also makes sense not only for ourselves, for our health, but I would say also for the planet, because it's looking much further away from what's happening just in front of you.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think this conversation that we're having is extremely timely, because with the pandemic, with working from home, actually our bubble has really shrunk. No online. Yes, we had the opportunity. We have the opportunity of connecting with very many different people, of looking at all this diversity. But as you said, it's not the same, it's through a screen. And at the same time, our own bubble has completely shrunk.
Yes.
And now, hopefully, it seems that it's finally getting better. So we're just at the time where people begin again to expand their bubble, to go outside, go back to the office and things like that. So I think it's a very timely conversation to have now. Well, hey, it's time to reconnect, and we're going to reconnect more physically. And so it's a very good time to think, okay, how do I connect or reconnect with people very different from me? And yes, you're right, it's not just about humans, it's about connecting with the world around us.
Yes, connecting with nature, connecting with everything.
Absolutely. I always keep in mind that if we were to disappear as a species, the world would probably not notice. And actually, it would probably be beneficial for every other living species, maybe except our specific parasites or symbiont. But basically, the world can live very easily without us. Yes. We can't live because we have built these dependencies, relying on so much of the world around us that we can't live without the other species. And that, I think, we should always keep that in mind. Yeah. And do all what we can to say, well, we need that. And so if we destroy it, we destroy us, we destroy our own species.
Yes, and I think that it's a really good point, because when we talk about diversity and inclusion, it's not only humans, it's really all the species.
Absolutely, absolutely, which is why usually diversity and inclusion is a part of the wider social responsibility, which also social might imply human, but actually is responsibility to the wider world, responsibility to life, in a way, responsibility to life, to all life.
Yes, I love this. I think we could really talk about this subject for much more time. I hope that you enjoyed it. It was really a pleasure to have you here today. And we will have a mini guide which will be available in the members area on Saturday, with all the things we might have forgotten to answer. So you stay tuned and come back on Saturday for more information. Is there a final word you would add before we finish our nice conversation?
Just thank you for having me today. It was really a great pleasure to have these discussions, and to everyone who is going to listening to us, who are listening to us right now, I would just say, be healthy and leave a healthy planet behind you.
That's great. Thank you very much, Nadej. And let's talk soon, maybe diving more into diversity, inclusion, or who knows?
Absolutely, absolutely. Who knows? Thank you, Catherine.
Thank you, Nadège. Bye.
Bye.